Tom in Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
Can't hear in my headphones. All right, well, at any rate, Mike Alexander here, and Jonathan Wilson, and our special guest, Josh Jacobs, here this evening.
Man, it is great to have Josh in studio tonight, isn't it?
It is. We all go back
Thank you.
At least 10 years. And I think the first time I met Josh Jacobs was at your office here in Pasadena, the day of our big demonstration on the steps of Pasadena City Hall.
We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary.
That's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I think
That's
it's
right.
like a week and a half away.
Yeah, the Taxed Enough Already
Yeah.
party that we had there. And
that's right.
We could sure use that in California right now, especially with all the taxes that are just looming every which way. I'm like, dude, when's it going to stop?
Okay. Here. Okay, good. I've got signal now. Thanks. Go ahead. I interrupted you, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm thinking about maybe we need a Sea Party surcharged enough already, because it seems like everything. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a tax the lawmakers in Sacramento don't like.
Right. Well, everything has gone bananas in this state. Now, by the way, we're going to talk a little bit about the Mueller report and how it relates to state and local issues, which is our focus. We're going to talk a lot about that. If you'd like to be part of our program, I'd like you to call 866-870-5752 right here at KRLA 870, The Answer. And Jonathan, for those who want to listen on Facebook, how do they do that?
Yeah, it's super easy. Just go to Facebook and search Radio Free Los Angeles.
Yes.
And you can see our live Facebook feed.
Yeah.
And you can see the three handsome gentlemen right here in the studio tonight.
At least two. All right.
And it's also great, too, because you can comment and ask questions. But we really encourage you to call in. If you have any questions for Josh Jacobs tonight, 866-870-5752.
Right.
I'm good with game show trivia, by the way, so if you want to stump me on that, I can do that as well.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a lot of fun here tonight. And one of the major issues, as everybody knows here, is the Mueller report. And we're reading all of the headlines. Trump wins, no collusion, no obstruction, no proof of crimes. Nadler says, Fat Nadler there says it's not over. Maxine's melting down. The media is rocked, and so forth. And it's as the present, or the concept here is that somehow they have lost. I'd like to give you my take on this whole thing. Everybody knew that this was a crock to start with, or at least within a few months. There's never been a time at least since his appointment or shortly thereafter, there's never been a time that the people in Washington who were in the know did not know that this was a lie. And the real story here is not that there was no Trump collusion. There never was. What hasn't come out in the investigation is why there was never a story, why we were given to believe that there was a story, and why official Washington was willing to run around for 2 years allowing the impression that our president was somehow a traitor when in fact there was never any real evidence for it, and when in fact this Steele dossier and the other information that found its way into the hands of the FBI, that was manufactured under the supervision of the FBI, launched out there into the intelligence channels and into the news media, laundered, pulled back into the FISA court applications and put in front of the court. The court was defrauded by Comey and by everybody else, including the slew of people. We had a coup. Now, did Mueller report? His report should have been, hey, this thing was never real. There wasn't. And, oh, by the way, I fess up, I was part of the coup. I was part of the con. And this Mueller and everybody else knew damn good and well that it was all BS. But they pushed it. So if you think that it's over out there, people, you're nuts. They were lying then, and they're lying now, and they're going to keep the lies up. We haven't won anything. We lost. We lost for 2 years. At the same time, they succeeded. How did they succeed? To me, it's an unqualified victory for the left as far as that's concerned. They floated this fat lead balloon out there for 2 years, kept it going. It's still going today. Still going today, and you're going to have people over the next several weeks, next several months, keep pursuing it as if there was secret evidence. The Mueller team really didn't do its job. No, they didn't. They did their job, which was to keep this phony con going for 2 years and then dump a report out here as if it were a serious investigation rather than part of a deliberate effort to undermine the President of the United States, as if this con had not originated with Barack Obama himself, as if it were not all concocted to conceal the activities of the Clinton administration, in the corruption of the Clinton Crime Foundation, and as if it were not all invented, the entire prosecution, to distract from the fact that Barack Obama and others in that administration spied on a candidate, planted spies and informants within that campaign, peddled those lies that they manufactured, peddled them to the FISA court where there is no opposition. They kept it going for 2 years, and you think that having attempted to overthrow a legitimately elected president of the United States, that they're going to give up now? That peace is going to break out? That finally Democrats are going to say, oh, my gosh, I guess you're right, you got me? Oh, please, children, please. Don't think that for a minute. It's a minor victory at best. And what did happen, and this was the great object lesson learned by everybody in Washington, and this is what's going to happen. You won't be able to find a Republican to cheer the president on this week. You'll find a few, the same handful that we've had all the time. But the fact is that what the lesson that these guys took away, bar none, is that it's dangerous to be Trump's friend. You screw up. Do you think that they're going to find it impossible to go after the next campaign campaign chief? Do you think they will refrain from going after? They went after the man's family, something nobody's ever done. I'm telling you, this was a complete act of terrorism that rivals anything ever done in the Soviet Union or any other tin-horn third world dictatorship. This is what they do. This is how they operate. And we haven't rooted this out at all. We don't even have the acknowledgement at the major media level where most Americans in this country listen. We don't even have their acknowledgement that there was an attempted coup. Nothing. No. The state of American knowledge here is zero nada. And earlier, you guys, one of you had mentioned that, well, there's a poll out there that 51 versus 49, y'all think it's a witch hunt. Well, that's a victory for them. 51-49, when it ought to be 99-1, and the 1% are the cognitively impaired in an insane asylum. Anybody that had reported this in the major media, we would have had a very, very different outcome.
Wow, Mike, I was feeling very optimistic before I came in here tonight.
No.
I wanted to celebrate a little bit.
Well,
Can't we come away with some sort of victory today?
That's all we got is water here. We don't have the champagne.
Yeah. Well, hey, put the corks back in. Because these guys are just getting started.
And so are we.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Now, the so-so news is that we managed to beat this back, but this was the most easily exposed lie that there ever was. Can you name, I'll bet you guys could probably name me 5 Republicans that were on the president's side and vocal over the last 2 years. Can you name me the 6th or 7th one? No, sir, you can't. And I was listening earlier to people saying, oh, by golly, we're going to win in 2020. Congress can win in 2020. Oh, really? How and why? They didn't run with Trump when they could have, and they could have run. What they have to what they have to do is to get with the program, with not with Trump, but with the policies that he's articulated, many of which are core Republican policies. They should have been running on those all along, and they weren't. And in 2018, not having supported Trump personally, not having supported his policies, not having built the wall, having run up an incredible deficit, with Mrs. McConnell up there and that Patsy Ryan in Senate, they did everything. So we didn't drain the swamp. We didn't build the wall. We didn't lock her up. We spent 2 years trying to lock up Donald Trump and his family, going after everybody in Trump world, intimidating the entire political cast of characters, and the so-called Republicans just ducking for cover the whole damn time. It's been a terrible, terrible 2 years, and it doesn't augur well for the next 2 years. So I don't know. A week from tonight, everybody take note. See how many Republicans, come out of their clamshells and decide to start supporting the Republican. Now, who has supported Trump? Well, the answer is the people have supported Trump. The people never believed that BS, not for a minute. But the terrible, terrible disservice done to us by the so-called deep state, the damage done to the rule of law, the damage done to the FBI. The damage that's done to law enforcement, the damage done to the First Amendment because of the violations of even minimal journalistic ethics. I mean, there's so much. Can you believe that the same people who are these goofballs? The guys on Woodward and Bernstein.
Oh, yeah. Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein.
Yeah, the guys who basically wrote down what they were told by that
Deep Throat.
Deep Throat. Yeah, the senior guy in the FBI. We've been down this road before. This is the second president that the FBI decided to depose. The first one was Nixon. They got him, right? Woodward and Bernstein. Mm-hmm. But you'd think all these guys run around that they would be curious, and the minimum qualification, I think, for being a legitimate journalist is at least to be curious about things. When you read everything that we've seen, and look at all these people that were texting back and forth, Strzok, Page, the FBI counsel, Baker, Bruce Orr, his wife, Fusion GPS, and as Mark Meadows, and there's one of the 5 names that'll be at the top of the Trump defenders, as Mark Meadows pointed out, we still have the conspirators in place, right? We have sitting ambassadors, and he clarified later on, he said he meant ambassadors from foreign countries who are currently appointed ambassadors to the United States. We have them. They were involved in this business. And Trump owns those guys. He's got the goods on them. They had them in place. Rosenstein. Trump has left this clown in place. And I guess he's supposed to leave. I thought he should be gone in mid-March, but I guess...
I think he said they was not going to leave until the Mueller results came out. Now they've come out. Let's see how long it's going to take for him to actually leave.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, why don't we all chip in and buy him a banker's box? And
a one-way ticket to Canada?
Yeah, get that jerk out of here. This is... I hate to be the
You're being realistic.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
You look at it this way. I mean, despite all this garbage that's gone on, Trump has kept most of his promises despite all this.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the tax cut was the biggest thing. He lowered the corporate tax rate from 38 down to 21%, while most other Republican candidates thought, 28% tax rate is going to be good for businesses.
Yeah.
Then he also cut out most of Dodd-Frank. He wasn't able to get all of it, but he was able to get like 60% of cutting it. It's like Reagan once said, the loaf of bread. If he can get like 60% of the loaf of bread, that's better than no loaf whatsoever.
Yes.
Not to mention all the regulations. His big promise on regulations, he said, for every new regulation, I'm going to cut 2 old ones. But in reality, he's actually cut 4 old regulations for every new regulation. And then he's got a new EPA head who's going in and going to cut even more that we didn't even know about. So while everybody else is focused on this, Trump's doing stuff like that. He's like, they say he's like a chess player in the sense. I don't know. I'm a horrible chess player. I played some in high school, but I haven't played since then. But it's a difficult game, but he's mastered it my
Well, there's more to say about it. And meanwhile, this claims to be a talk show. So I'm going to take at least one call now from my good friend Brent, who wants to weigh in on something that, in fact, you mentioned it earlier. Brent from Los Angeles, how are you this evening?
Doing great. Hi, Mike. Hi, John.
We miss you, Brent. You haven't called in a couple weeks.
I tried to get through last week to wish you a happy St. Patty's Day.
All right.
But you were so busy that I couldn't even get on the board.
I tell you, we need to give you our VIP line.
Well, 2 of us are wearing green tonight, at least.
Right. You got Josh. Brent, what's your point? Fire away, my friend.
Okay, but just before I get to that, I just wanted to say, relative to St. Patty's, as the blessed St. Patty drove the snakes from Ireland, that you are driving the snakes out of Sacramento and our corrupt school system.
Well,
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
We can try it. We'll get at them, and I can link up these lies here in a minute. But meanwhile, we have our good friend in Congress there, Miss Omar, and I think that you have something to say about her.
Yes, I went to Woodland Hills yesterday to the protest, and the good news is there were 500 to 1,000 God-centered American patriots against about 20 American traitors.
Yeah.
And the news, of course, made it look like it was an equal battle.
Hey, Brent, set this up for us, would you? Because I'm not familiar with what that event was all about. This deals with Congressman Omar, who is one of the 2 Muslim. She self-identifies in that fashion. She wears a hijab, I think, and she presents herself as a fairly aggressive and radical advocate of Islamism. And was she out here?
Yes.
Okay.
She
Tell
came.
us about that.
Well, she came, and not only does she present herself as a rabid racist and a bigot and an anti-Semite, but she came to be honored by CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations. And
hey-o. Rim shot, right?
and so she is so vile, and her personal life is so vile. It isn't, everybody keeps emphasizing, that comment she made about the Benjamins. That's the least of it. That's silly. She has a long history of bigotry and anti-Semitism and opposition to Israel. And so the very fact that she went to be honored and flew out here to come see CARE, that's just in your face. That CARE is the organization. It was a fundraising organization, or probably still is, for Hamas.
That's right.
And so it's a terrorist front group, and why they are even allowed to operate, I guess it's because it's California. Anything goes here.
Well, they operate nationwide, and they still show up on TV. In fact, I think they have one of those AWOD. You got to be careful. Awad is, I think, his last name or something like that. Gumwad.
Yes.
This guy shows up on Fox and whatnot.
Gumwad?
I'm trying. It's so easy for me to slide into the vernacular.
I mispronounce Italian names, folks, so don't be offended if we mispronounce other names.
Don't worry.
I've even mispronounced Polish names, and I got some Polish blood in me. So
okay.
there we go.
So, well, you got Polish, but I got a Polish nephew. Well, I'll tell you about him later. I want to get to Brent here. So Omar, she's out here to be given an award by CARE and obviously raise money, raise her visibility. In the meanwhile, a bunch of people show up to protest this gal, including you. Yeah. How did that protest go?
I thought it was beautiful from our side. There were people of, religious people and godly people, and they were energized, and they were enraged, and they had bullhorns, and they were screaming and yelling, and there's all kinds of videos on YouTube about it. But if you go to CBS, NBC, ABC, the usual suspects, it looks so tame. It's just like there were two sides, and some are supporting her, and some aren't. No backstory, no explanation of who and what she is and what she represents. And apparently David Duke has great regards for her.
I know, isn't that something?
Yeah, so the KKK, all of a sudden, the left who pretends to have a problem with the KKK and racism and, anti-Semitism, they're quiet. But Trump, now that he's given the Golan Heights officially, in effect, to Israel, and he's moved the embassy to Jerusalem.
That is amazing.
It's like he's the anti-Semite.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm telling you, he is truly the great Satan. Yeah.
Not to mention that 8 of Trump's 9 grandkids are of Jewish descent, because Jared is Jewish, and then Don Jr.'s ex-wife Vanessa is half Jewish. So
well, since Ben Shapiro and myself are also always being called anti-Semites, it goes along with it. Anybody who has any decency or any belief in God is an anti-Semite.
That's what, I got 2 minutes, well, actually about a minute and a half, but it reminds me several years ago when I first got involved in Tea Party politics, a very good friend of mine was a highly, highly skilled communications expert. Well, I tell you what, I'll finish that story after the hour. That music that you hear means that our first half hour has come to an end. Brent, I want to thank you as always for calling in and being our guest and our friend here. This is Mike Alexander with Jonathan Wilson. Our special guest and good friend, Josh Jacobs, is here with us this evening on KRLA. And hang on, we'll be back in a few minutes. And if you'd like to be with us, go to 866-870-5752. And don't forget to go to RadioFreeLosAngeles.net. Sign up, get connected, be part of the program. See you in a minute.
Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
All right, you got it. Back with you here, Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, and our special guest host here tonight, Josh Jacobs, old friend. And,
he's kind of a legend here at the station.
Is he
Josh,
really?
How long have you been at this station?
Well, I've been working for Salem Communications for about 25 years now.
Wow.
Amazing.
That is amazing.
I'm now 22.
Right. When do they give you a T-shirt or something like that if you last year?
Well, we do get plaques, but we've never had T-shirts. So maybe by the time I haven't gotten the 25-year plaque yet, so maybe I could suggest that in future, honorees get these T-shirts that commemorate their anniversary. But who knows?
Are there many other people here that have worked here longer than you have?
Dave Dino has. He's been here for about 26 years, and our operations director, Jim Tinker, has been here for 27. And Terry Fay, the GM, has been working here since pretty much the beginning of our sister station, KKLA, in 1985. So
but you're one of the veterans.
I'm one of the veterans, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Well, at any rate, we're back here. If you'd like to be part of the program, our telephone number is 866-870-5752. And if you would like to watch in, we have a video broadcast feed on Facebook. So you just type in there, what, Jonathan? Radio Free Los Angeles?
Yeah, just search Radio Free Los Angeles. Be sure to like the page, and every week you'll get notified when we go live on Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, and so you can listen and watch.
Yeah.
And comment. By the way, we have a Fran in Los Angeles has been making some comments. She thinks you're right on, Mike.
All right.
Yeah, but she does think today is a historic day. And she said she likes your passion, Mike. She's eager to see Hillary and the Democrats investigated since the collusion is on their side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we talk about, let's just go into that for a minute. Where has been the call among Republicans, elected Republicans, excuse me, the people who are supposed to speak on our behalf? Where's been their call? With the exception of a half a dozen people: Devin Nunes, Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan.
Matt Gaetz.
Yes. Lindsey Graham on most days, a faithful backer of the president and vocal about it. But we have yet to hear, even from any Republican, and I think that includes Donald Trump, the core allegation of which I've been persuaded for over 2 years. First time I heard about this, I knew it was Obama. I knew they were up to it, that they were spying on Republicans, spying on Donald Trump and everybody in that organization. And the fact that this was generated by the intelligence forces, it is impossible that the president did not know about this. It is impossible that a guy who exercised that much political control, mind control, people control over everybody in the White House. Have you heard one of them spilled the beans about the Obama administration since he got out? No, there's no tell-all books about them, and almost zero out of the Clinton administration, even though that was 25 years ago. You don't have anybody spilling the beans. Those are all the same people. They're all up to the same business, and they were spying on this president and attempting to overthrow, not Donald Trump, our election. We're the victims here. And we the people have stood behind Trump. We are the heroes. Yes, Donald Trump is the man that we elected, but we're the ones who have stood tall behind this man. And believe me, everybody out there, I know that some of what I've said tonight is pessimistic, but I don't want you to be pessimistic. I want you to be positive and optimistic, but determined. Please do not rest for a moment. If we had not been 100% behind this man with all of his considerable faults, right? We all know what they are. But this was the man whom we elected, and this was the man who has acted more consistently and more and advocated more of the kinds of programs and policies that we want than any president since Ronald Reagan. And for that, we may be grateful. He's done things nobody else could do. We are the ones that they fear the most. We remain their target. They're trying to break and bend our will. That's why we have to be vigilant in this business. And I don't think yet that we have the wherewithal, the political commitment. Do you think anybody, you name me one guy who really has the guts and the determination now in the next week who's going to call for the rest of the investigation? Any calls, guys? Any bets? What do you think, Josh?
I think Devin Nunes will, because he's been pretty consistent overall the last couple of years, and he has fought the leftist mob. He really has. I mean, he was threatened during the election time, and he won re-election pretty handily, in fact, despite all the attacks against him. I could also see maybe Mark Meadows and Matt Gaetz being two of the others, and Jim Jordan probably. Those are the 4 or 5 that I think would call for something in the next week or so.
Right.
I think with President Trump, as we said earlier on, kind of, the game of chess, if you will, I'm wondering if he waited until the Mueller report before he released these things, so that way people think, oh, well, he's trying to, busy people up.
Well, this is the great unanswered question,
it is,
or questions. Because it's pretty clear to me that very soon after he was elected, there were a number of people, including Admiral Mike Rogers, who was in intelligence, who went up to the Trump Tower and told him to get him and his office and his whole transition team the hell out of Trump Tower because it had been bugged, right? Yeah, that is, he was under surveillance. Let's not forget that part of it. He was under surveillance already. He told him to get out there, and I'm convinced that a lot of people came to him, came right out of the woodwork, loyal FBI agents, loyal intelligence officers, loyal military officers who went to Trump and told him. And I think Trump has known was going on for a long time, and yet he still hasn't moved to declassify certain parts of the FISA applications which are within his power. He's known about Barack Obama. He's known about all these guys, and yet he has not moved against them. So what's the strategy? There's been speculation, my own mostly, that he'd wait and he would build the wall and start doing payback in the last 2 years of his administration leading up to the re-election. So this is the other shoe. When will Trump act against his enemies? If he leaves this attack unanswered, and a tweet is not an answer, if he leaves this unanswered, we, the American people, lose. Because this coup, this traitorous, treasonous attempt to overthrow our election is the most serious damn thing that we've had in our country in 200 years. There's nothing like this. Assassinations are one thing. Those are actions of a small group of people. We've never had our own government engage in such widespread activity, and we've never had this effort headed up by a sitting president acting against his duly elected successor, acting against one of the challengers. And I can assure everybody out there that Trump wasn't the only guy who was surveilled. You can bet they were on Cruz. You can bet that they weren't anybody who looked like they were getting traction. Yeah, this is a Marxist, communist, criminal, crooked operation. It's got Barack Obama, Valerie Jarrett, the Clintons written all over it. We haven't even begun to probe this this mess. We're not even talking about the whole issues. And I've observed a number of conservative talk show hosts whom I like and listen to a lot, but they're very guarded in many of the things that they're saying. Me, not so much. I want to call these people out. I have no doubt in my mind what they were doing. And I don't think anybody else does. And you say, oh, they wouldn't do that. Whoa, what? The people who deny that there's a child in the womb, the people who for whom who will sponsor and cheer and applaud, when a child is to be left on a operating table and given no medical care. What, those people? Those people who have no limits, no moral compass whatsoever? There's something they would stop at. Please tell me what that is. The same people who take our children and indoctrinate them and try to get little boys to deny who they are, get little girls to deny who they are, and to engage in that. These people have limits? These people have respect for truth? No. These people have no limits, and the Constitution is an inconvenience, believe me.
Well, look what Barbara Streisand said a couple of days ago to Michael Jackson. Now, she did apologize, but she got caught.
Why don't you tell people what that witch said?
Oh, she was, oh my gosh. I don't have the quote directly in front of me. Let me try to find it for you.
Well, I think she said, defending Michael Jackson, that those kids that he molested were thrilled to be with him.
That's correct.
And that basically it didn't kill them, so kind of get over it.
Well, she said something even more alarming, and it was something to the effect that Michael's sexual needs were Michael's sexual needs.
Yeah.
And these kids were thrilled to be there.
She's
My
a freak.
God.
What a freak.
I mean, Me Too.
Right.
It just is the Me Too movement speaking out against this? I'm wondering.
No.
I mean, no.
No, she'll show up at 25 Democrat Party people. But in any event, we've got a caller on here who would like to talk about some other issues here. I'm a little bit ticked off at Obama here. So let's go to Linda and see what she has to say. Linda from Burbank, how are you this evening? One of our most loyal callers.
Since I heard, Brent, talk about Omar's event in Los Angeles,
yes,
I found it interesting that Congressman Brad Sherman, was saying that, he something to the matter that she shouldn't have the event in Los Angeles, or he doesn't want her to have the event in Los Angeles, or doesn't want to take place. Because, she has connections to CARE.
Right. So Brad Sherman,
Hamas.
Is he your congressman out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think maybe, he responded to callers like myself.
Well, Brad Sherman is of course. What you said
I found it interesting that he said that. When I called his office, I said, for him to quit concentrating on impeaching Trump and focus on Omar. And I mentioned the connections Omar has.
Well, Brad Sherman, of course. He defeated that other guy in the. What was his name? He'd been a congressman out there for years.
Howard Berman?
Howard Berman, yeah. And I remember I was at his offices on a military academy night event once out there in the North Valley there. But he defeated Berman and emerged as the only guy there. And Brad Sherman, of course, is Jewish and has a lot of Jewish support in the Democrat Party. And he's got a problem or I should say Omar's created a problem because this gal's clearly anti-Semitic and she's clearly anti-Israel. So this has given Brad Sherman problems. And now this now he's gonna, if he's making these kinds of arguments, God knows what's going to happen to him because the mean girls there, that would be Omar and Tlaib and Ocasio-Cortez and the rest of the Banshee squad in the Democrat Party are probably going to take after this guy. And who would have ever thought that that a Democrat Jewish congressman would be in danger of getting fried because he called somebody out for anti-Semitic comments. I mean, I just never thought I'd live to see the day.
Well, one of the things I told
just amazing.
One of the things I told the aide, when I said that he'd better, lay off the impeachment of Trump and go after Omar, when I mentioned the connections, I said, because one day in the future, he'll be running against, in the primary, a Democrat like Omar.
That's right.
Win.
That's right. Somebody's going to come out of the woodwork. Some some left-wing hustler is going to be the new fresh face, mimicking all of these things, and Brad Sherman is going to be in trouble, as you point out. But the major reason why Brad Sherman and all of these other Democrats and Republicans are going to be in trouble is because of what goes on, or more accurately, what doesn't go on in our public schools. So, this goes back to what we've talked about here over the last several weeks about gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is a process, of course, in which representatives pick their constituents rather than the constituents picking their representatives. The first way they do it is by an advantageous redrawing of the district lines. The second way that they do it is the way that they've been doing it, and that is importing voters that they like. If you don't like American voters, import some voters that you do like. Bring them in from Mexico, where they don't even habla. And you could just tell them whatever the hell you want to tell them, as long as you're giving away somebody else's money. For the time being, that'll work. But the third way that they gerrymander, and it's much more pernicious. The third way that they do it is through the public so-called school system, through a system of indoctrination. So they take these children of voters like you and me, and then try to steal our children from us and get them to parrot back the thoughts that they want and convert them into the citizens that they want. And this is what totalitarian regimes do all the time. It's if you look in the places like Germany or China or Russia or any of these places, you'll find that they all follow the same practice. Linda, I want to thank you for calling in. We look forward to hearing from you again. I want to build on something that we were talking about there. One of the I get a start on some of this now, then we'll continue it after the 9 o'clock hour. We're going to have a special ceremony here late after the 9 o'clock hour. That there's a reason Josh Jacobs is here. So we'll tease it that way. You're going to want to hear.
We're going to shake him down on air.
We are, man.
Do you have any cake? I'll take a candy bar.
That's it.
Or at least an IOU. You can pay me later. Pay me Tuesday for
I'll gladly pay you Tuesday. We're gonna go on here for a little bit here, but one of the I wanted to start with this earlier, but I didn't get a chance. One of my favorite authors is a guy named Bill Federer, Federer. He's a columnist on WorldNet Daily, and he always has these splendid little essays that he does. Most of them deal with American history, with a tremendous emphasis on our own colonial history, the history of the founding of our country and the Constitution. He comments on much, much more than that. But he's also, I have the strong impression that he is a sincere and devout Protestant. He articulates a lot of important history about how our Constitution and political tradition developed along with the religion, the different religious groups in the United States during the colonial time, most of which were Protestant. He's an excellent guy, and I'm not sure you'll find him on WorldNet Daily. But in any event, one of his essays here this past week caught my eye, and the title of it was, "It's No Accident the Left Controls Public Education." And he writes a lot about, if you listen to this channel here, in this program, you know what I've said about it. But he cites a number of authorities here and quotations I think that you'll find interesting, and begins halfway through. Quote, Like the programming of computers today, many past writers understood that education gives youth their identity. Plato wrote in his Republic 380 BC, "When the true philosopher kings are born in a state, they will set in order their own city. They will take possession of the children who will be unaffected by the habits of their parents. These they will train in their own habits and laws." Doesn't that perfectly describe what's going on? Plato explained how the philosopher king would stay in power by instituting a centralized Common Core type education program where children were taught noble lies, quote unquote. A description of Plato's noble lie was given in a review of James Glazoff's book, United in Hate, The Left's Romance with Tyranny and Terror. Boy, isn't that true? Plato expressed an idea that is related to thought control. He called for the noble lie, quote unquote, a contradiction in terms if there ever was one. In particular, he said that the people should be taught that rulers were made with gold, auxiliaries with silver, and craftsmen with iron and brass. Their own social hierarchy. George Orwell, of course, wrote in his novel 1984, "Those who control the past control the future, and those who control the present control the past." So let's take what Orwell and those two guys had to say. They're pointing out that if you take the children and teach them what you want to, you can teach them how to think about their own past, how to think about their parents, how to think about the church, how to think about society, how to think about each other, and most importantly, how to think about the government itself. That's what government does. And a key part of that is getting them to forget their past. If you control their brains right now in the present, you can get them to either forget their past or to learn it in a certain way so that you can control the future. All right, that music that you hear means that we're coming up on the hour here. Mike Alexander, Josh Jacobs, and Jonathan Wilson here tonight. Radio Free Los Angeles here. Go to radiofreelosangeles.net and get involved with the program there. After the break, we'll take a call from Mike. Then we'll go into our special presentation here. See you after top of the hour.
Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
Okay, back with you here for the last half hour of Radio Free Los Angeles. If you'd like to be part of our program here tonight, the number is 866-870-5752. If you're on Facebook, you can watch us. Beware of the elderly host here. But you just search
elderly host. You're younger than Donald Trump.
Am I?
Yeah, I think you're a couple years younger than our president.
I know. Yeah,
that's right. I tell you, Mike Alexander is younger than I am, but I still get just 4 hours of sleep. Mike, I think, gets how many? Don't you get 10 hours of sleep a night?
No, I wish I did.
No, I mean, he probably sleeps about the same amount as Trump does.
We're there,
He's going to make California great again.
And that's what we're going to do. That shill in the audience here is Josh Jacobs, my good friend of many years. And this segment, we're going to start off as we do. Mike and El Segundo, I know you're there. We'll get to you, my friend. He's got a couple of cogent comments to make here. But this is a segment, as you know, that we try to spend more time on school choice. In addition to being the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government, Radio Free Los Angeles is the voice of choice in Los Angeles and the state of California. Choice as in school choice of a place where parents want to send their children to school. We are part of a group that is organizing to put an initiative on the ballot in 2020. Probably it's going to be entitled the Educational Freedom Act, and the key feature of the Educational Freedom Act will be the creation of an educational savings account. Once this initiative is passed, the state of California will be required to establish a savings account in the name of every K through 12 child. Into that account each year or at periodic times throughout the year will be deposited an amount equivalent to the amount currently being spent by the state of California per capita on children in school. That amount is at a minimum of about $15,000, and if you add in all cash flows, it could go as high as $17,000. The parents, not the school, not the school district, not the school board, not the good humor man or the Costco representative, will determine where that kid goes to school. And it can be a public school, a charter school, or an accredited private, or, trigger warning out there, grab your comfort animals and dogs, a parochial school. Last feature, and the most significant in many ways, is that any money not used to school your child can be saved and used for college or other approved educational expenses. It is a winner. I have yet to run into anybody except a union representative or union member in the schools who doesn't think it's the great idea. An idea whose time has come. And if you want to know who our opposition comes from, it would be people who agree with this quotation. When an opponent declares, and you can guess who said it, we'll have a little lottery here. When an opponent declares, I will not come over to your side, I calmly say, your child already belongs to us. What are you? You will pass on. Your descendants, however, now stand in the new camp. In a short time they will know nothing else but the new community. The youth of today is ever the people of tomorrow. For this reason, we have set before ourselves the task of inoculating our youth with the spirit of this community of the people at a very early age, at an age when human beings are still unperverted and therefore unspoiled. This Reich stands, and it is building itself up for the future upon its youth. And this new Reich will give its youth to no one, but will itself take youth and give to youth its own education and its own upbringing. Okay, I gave it away with the word.
Yeah, I was going to say Stalin maybe or Adolf Hitler, but definitely Hitler when he said
Reich. Yeah, definitely Hitler. There it is. That's what we're up against. You tell me there's any fundamental difference between what's going on in the public schools now and what these guys are advocating. They're the same people. They are the representatives of an unrestrained government with totalitarian ambitions, both of them. And that is a perfect description of our current project. So, for those of you who are out there, we need your support. How do they support us, Jonathan?
Well, I just want to add to what you're saying,
yes.
Mike, is this school choice initiative is the single best thing that could happen to California and make life in California exponentially better.
Yes.
So we're encouraging everyone to go to our website, which is schoolchoice2020.org. And what we're asking for is just a $5 a month contribution. The cost of a white chocolate mocha at Starbucks or a $6 restaurant burger at Carl's Jr. I talked to Josh during the break.
Yes.
And he's contributed before.
Yes.
But tonight he's going to sign up for a monthly contribution at schoolchoice2020.org. And as he does that live on the air tonight, he's going to basically let people know how easy it is and how good it feels.
That's it. All right. So are you online?
Yes, he's going to do it right now.
Do we have a drum roll for this?
Yes, I am. Let me get my credit card.
Taking out his credit card right now.
All right.
His wallet looks like it's been around
I'd
the
rather
block.
spend money on School Choice than a new wallet, folks.
Wow, man, look at those moths come out of that.
School Choice there.
Look at those moths come out of that wallet.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Don't worry, I have hand sanitizer in case. So I'm going to go for the $5 a month on the screen right there.
Okay.
So schoolchoice2020.org/donation right there. So.
Well, yeah, if you go to that schoolchoice2020.org, on the far right at the top is contribute, and then you can select your contribution amount.
So $5 a month. So I'm going to type in my name right over here, and let me backspace there because.
Well, as he does this, Mike, we'll keep you posted, but you can go ahead and... Do you have a caller?
I'm sorry. Yeah, you go ahead and do that. We'll bring you back in. Let's go to Mike from El Segundo, then we'll come back to Stephen in Eagle Rock. Mike, how are you this evening?
Fine, thank you, Mike. If I have enough time, I'd like to mention something about schools and then get to the subject of the Jew hatred in the mainstream media and the anti-Israel bias. So I just want to mention two things about schools. One is that there's a book that I'm sure is really great because I heard the author being interviewed by Dennis Prager and Larry Elder. And the author is Thomas Sowell, Sowell.
Sure, we know Tom.
You know who he is, of course, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, you can get him to interview him. That would be great. His new book is Discrimination and Disparities, and he debunks a lot of the lies and mythology that if two people have different incomes or if one of them is better off in life, it has to be because of racial differences or differences between male and female. He debunks all this, and he explains how they lie with the statistics. It's really incredible. And he talks about the charter schools, how in New York City, been such a huge success that the Democrats and school teachers unions have been trying to cover up and hide their tremendous success, and they've been trying to limit the available classrooms for charter schools. They're trying to.
Yes.
I think they have a moratorium. He said that there's no more new charter schools allowed,
right?
Because the school teachers unions know that the public schools cannot compete with them. And they'll have an exodus of students leaving the public schools, going to charter schools, and the teachers' unions, some of them are going to lose their jobs, obviously. Because
that's right.
They're not doing their jobs.
Mike,
another
comment.
That, so people should get and read that book. I'm going to buy it as well.
Okay.
A real quick second point, education, then I'll get to the media on Israel, is the most commonly used United States history book in United States high schools is called A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. And it might have been written by Karl Marx. Okay, it's really, really bad. It indoctrinates students to hate America, to think we are an awful country, to think that socialism and communism would be wonderful. I'll just read you 4 short sentences out of that book. It's about the 2000 presidential election, comparing Gore and Bush. According to the history book, Gore and Bush were both too far right-wing. So he says, the author says, neither Gore nor Bush had a plan for free national health care, for expensive low-cost housing, for dramatic changes in environmental controls. Both supported the death penalty and the growth of prisons. Both favored a large military establishment and continued use of landmines and the use of sanctions against the people of Cuba and Iraq.
Right. Now, who wrote that?
That was Howard Zinn, Z-I-N-N.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know.
He's passed away, but Dennis Prager interviewed him before he passed away, and Dennis Prager asked him the question, do you think the world would have been better off if the United States of America never existed? And he said, yes, the world would be better off if our country never existed.
That's what they think. Well, hey, Mike, I know you had some comments.
I about the media on Israel, what goes on.
Yeah, let me give you 2 minutes on this because we got some other callers backed up, so...
Sure.
Take two, it all yours.
Next week and give a little more. But
sure,
these Arab Muslim terrorists, they do the most horrific things to generate negative media propaganda against Jews in Israel and to make them look like the victims. So, for example, they use Red Crescent ambulances. They don't have Red Cross. They call it Red Crescent, the Muslim crescent moon icon. They use Red Crescent ambulances to try to get their terrorists And the rioters threw past Israeli security lines, and they've been doing that for quite a while. And Israel has a policy they have to stop every one of these ambulances and search them.
Right.
They can't let terrorists blow up pizza parlors full of kids. So then the Muslims claim, the terrorists claim, Hamas claims, oh, those horrible Israelis, they're delaying our ambulances and people are going to die. No, if they let them through unsearched, people are going to die.
That's right.
So that's one example. Another example is they set up portable rocket launchers right next to schools and hospitals and then fire them at Israel, at Jewish and Christian homes and neighborhoods and businesses, hoping that Israel will attack back to stop them from firing the rockets, and then will hit the school or the hospital, and then they can say, look, Israel bombed our school, they bombed our hospital.
Sure.
They do all this on purpose.
They lie, and this is the key feature of the left, and this is why we started off tonight's segment. This is how it all relates together. The left lies. The press, which is leftist,
lie. And when the press
lies
and helps these Muslim terrorists spread their propaganda, it encourages more and more terrorism. The United States and the European media, the left-wing media, is an accomplice to these Muslim terrorists, encouraging them and assisting them.
That's correct.
And then the schools are teaching the same propaganda as well, this anti-Israel propaganda, and they host anti-Semitic, anti-Israel protests against so-called Zionism. I shouldn't say so-called, against anti-Zionism they call it. All Zionism is the belief that Jews have a right to their own country and their historic biblical homeland called Israel. That's
hey, Mike,
all it is they have a right.
Let's dig into Zionism next week. In the meanwhile, I'll thank you for your comments here tonight. As always, we appreciate you being on. Next up is Stephen from Eagle Rock. How are you this morning, Steve? I think I'm going to hear a familiar voice.
Well, I think you will too, but it's evening as far as I can tell, unless you're broadcasting from another continent.
What did I say, good morning or this today?
Yeah, good morning.
I know that, Steve, from anywhere. Hello, fellow former Eagle Rocker. Well, you're still an Eagle Rocker. I'm no longer an Eagle Rocker.
Yeah, I am. I was going to say, I don't think anybody knows you by the name of Josh Jacobs. Aren't you better known as JJ?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, for many years.
All right.
Oh,
my. There tonight, Josh?
By the way, the gentleman on the line here, not only a good friend, former candidate for congressman, 2 or 3 times, Steve?
Yep.
Yeah,
twice.
and
Comrade Javier Becerra.
That's it. That's why I call him Comrade Becerra. And Stephen and I have known each other for years, and we've sung together for years. But his most important claim to fame is more recently here is we give him credit for creating our motto. Which is probably going to go on our bumper stickers here for School Choice 2020. Our children, our money, our choice. Right? Or your children, your money, your choice, something like that. But it was Steve's formulation. I acknowledge it and thank you. And we've already put him on notice that we'll shamelessly steal it and use it, and with his good wishes. So fire away, Stephen. What are your comments this evening?
Well, first of all, just on the recent conversation, many people don't know that the Nazi Germany, they were socialists.
Yes.
And it always amuses me when the leftists are calling people like Trump Hitler, and they're saying, well, you're a fellow leftist. That's what it sounds like to me when they say
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't like this left-right concept. It is the kind of thing that Europeans come up with, trying to position people on the spectrum, and they're all nothing but a bunch of thieves, tyrants, and dictators. They're anti-freedom, they're anti-individual, and they're anti-constitutional. We are the people stand for personal freedom, for free men, for free markets, for limited constitutional government. That's not left, that's not right. That is in the directional sense. It is a correct statement of the human conditions. We are unique. We're not European, and I don't like all that commie crap. And political pseudoscience that they serve up to us on a regular basis. And so we get communists say, oh, well, we're over on the right. Then they claim Hitler's on the right, and we're over there with him. What the hell are you talking about? You people are all the same damn people.
That's right.
And we need away from that. And that just describes your average school principal. Right?
Well, speaking of schools,
yeah.
I'd like to get on the original reason I called.
Yes, sir.
And I would like to direct people to an article I recently have written, and it's appearing now on the Santa Clarita Gazette.
Okay.
And it was an interview I did with the young lady who is going to be your homeschool outreach person.
Oh, yes. Denise Soto.
Yes, well, I kept her name out of the that because she had received a little flack from her local school district, so I kept her name out of the article.
Okay, all right. Well, it wasn't her then.
Yeah, it wasn't her. No, it wasn't.
It was Amanda Gomez.
Yeah. Who's Denise?
Yeah,
we don't know.
Well, we meant Denise as far as their niece, not their nephew.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, no, so that'll be found in, the Santa Clarita News?
Santa Clarita Gazette. It's in the issue that's out this week.
Okay,
it's also posted on our website.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you go to schoolchoice2020.org, it's under the blog tab.
Thanks. Appreciate
but
that.
It was interesting to me because, the final motivation for her to pull her kids out of the school system and start the homeschooling, number one, she felt her kids were being dumbed down by the school district.
Mm-hmm.
And number two was this whole issue that you've talked around, and that's indoctrinating our kids, not only in socialism, but in social practices, shall we say, that would not most of us be comfortable with.
That's right. Yeah, and with these people, we just need to tell them no. Well, Steve, thanks very much for calling in. Thanks for all that you do. You and I will be in touch. We're overdue for breakfast, coffee, or lunch. I'll give you a call sometime tomorrow. Now, we have...
well, I wanted to check in with Josh. He made his contribution successful. You want to tell the audience how it went?
It went very well. It's very simple, very easy, very user-friendly. Didn't have to scramble trying to figure out, okay, what's this? Where does this go? It was very, 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 sometimes when you put your credit card number in, you have to add spaces. This was no problem whatsoever. It was easy
and
as
you've done something important for the children.
Yeah,
right.
It's for the children.
Well, Josh, we really appreciate your support.
We do.
Well, thank you.
And while we're there, I want to thank some other contributors.
Please.
This week. We got Ashley in Rancho Cucamonga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, signed up for a monthly. Jared in Pasadena, Chris in San Gabriel, Roger in Van Nuys, Judy and Sylmar, and there were others. I'll be thanking them next week. So
fantastic! We do appreciate it all. We've got our Government Grifter of the Week awards coming up here in a few minutes, but I just want to, in 60 seconds or less, tell you why these $5 contributions per month are important. These $5 a month, or $10 or even $20 a month, will not permit us to get the initiative on the ballot, nor will it permit us to get the initiative, much less get it passed. What it does do, it's not enough in and of itself, but what it does do is demonstrate to the big political contributors, the foundations, the big dogs, the political investors, the many people, it is those people that we have to go through and they want to know about it. So thank you, Josh, for helping with that project. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan Wilson.
All right, let's cue the music. And now, live from Glendale, California, it's this week's Government Grifter Awards. And yet again, backed by popular demand, Juan Tierra in Mount Washington is going to be our guest presenter. Is he on the line?
Yeah, I think he is. Juan Tierra, ¿dónde estás?
All right, welcome back to the Grifter Awards, Juan.
Down there at Home Depot.
Okay.
All right, let's hear your nominations.
Okay, for the second week in a row, I'm going to the state of California, specifically 2 University of California athletic departments.
Wait,
fiscal year 2017.
Athletic departments?
Oh, athletic departments.
Athletic departments, yes. First nominee from UC Berkeley. Full disclosure, my alma mater, I know it's painful. The ex-head football coach, regular pay, a paltry $35,796, okay? Other pay, $1,909,148. Total pay, $1,945,449.
For a football coach?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ex-football coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second nominee from UCLA, United Communist Los Angeles. Ex-head basketball coach. You probably know the name. I don't want to embarrass him. Regular pay, $300,000. Other pay, $2,438,906.
Right.
Wow.
Total pay, 2017, $2,738,906.
Holy smoke.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more. Third nominee, also from UCLA, ex-head football coach. Regular pay, $386,593. Other pay, and I'll get to what other pay is at the end of this, $3,302,449.
Was that USC?
Total pay.
No.
$3,689,042. You're wondering what other pay is, aren't you? I can tell.
Yeah.
All these guys were fired. They were fired with long-term guaranteed contracts. They got more money than this, but this is just what the taxpayers are on the hook for. Okay.
Right.
No wonder college is so expensive.
They were paid collectively over $8 million not to work.
Right.
Wow.
That's right.
John, those are some great nominees.
Yeah.
and how do you pick a winner out of those three?
Well, you might go for the guy who got the most money.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear. You ready for the drum roll?
Okay. Drum roll, please.
And the winner of this week's Government Grifter Awards goes to
UCLA ex-football coach, total pay, and that's not the benefits, by the way, $3,689,042 for not working.
Wow.
Wow.
Congratulations, ex-UCLA head football coach.
Well, my crack research, yes.
Yeah. And a loser. All to be USC scrimmage team.
Well, they're private, Mike. They're a private school. I think you went there, right?
Who? No, I went to SC.
I went to Cal State LA.
Yeah, I didn't go to UCLA. And we said those German exchange students, they called it UCLA. So, hey, this is really unknown. When you get into these, to the state and the universities, there are, the physicians make a lot of money. And what's that guy's name? Nick Saban? I think he makes $5 or $6 million or more.
Oh, no.
Down in Alabama.
9.
Huh?
8 or 9.
8 or 9.
8 or 9.
That's right.
You see, there's the state pay, and then there's the radio show, the TV show, the endorsements. So he makes 8 or 9.
It's amazing.
$1 million.
Hey, well, it's been a great show tonight. Thank you, Brooke, our call screener, the lovely Miss Brooke. And we have Jeff here on the board. Josh Jacobs, our good friend and new contributor. Thank you for coming in and joining us tonight.
Yeah, it was great having you, Josh.
Jonathan Wilson. I think we had a good one here. This is Mike Alexander signing off. We hope you join us next week. In the meanwhile, become part of the solution. Go to schoolchoice2020.org. Take the pledge there. Be part of this. Help me to go get the big money. Help us to take our state back. Remember, it's our kids, our money, and our choice. See you next week.